The portal window has closed, but recruiting has not.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. Glad to have you guys here with us. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, FanDuel.com. More on FanDuel here in a moment. Fine folks over there. Of course, everydayers that are here, we love you guys so very much. LockedOnBulldogs.supercast.com. Get in on the action. I had a nugget of insight from a text message that I hadn't heard before about Ole Miss fan. It was great and glorious. Thank you for that, everydayers. Get in on the action over Discord. Hey, today we're talking about three things. One, the portal window has closed. Kirby's added the right pieces, I think, to it. Continuing to hear where guys are going to head out to, because while the entrance into that is how it decides out and the timing of it, it's kind of like a Plinko chip. You never know exactly where it's going to land. Kirby has brought in key pieces. We talked a little bit about that in the snap counts and the depth from this last weekend. But the second thing that we get to focus on now, we get to turn the calendar over and start focusing on purely recruiting of high school players. And anybody that tells you college football, high school recruiting is dead, does not see where all the elite teams are putting their resources. Even Indiana, who just won the national championship, had over a $20 million roster, not just NIL, like shelling out cash for old established players to get the program up so that then you can feed in guys that you have to train. Just so happens people don't like that piece. They like products that they can kind of mold and shift into just their little thing and get them going, a la Lane Kiffin. And sometimes it works. But if you think that if you don't understand anything about sports, about baseball, soccer, football, NFL, college, high school, it doesn't matter. You have to have skill players at the top, but you have to have guys that you are producing from the bottom up who feed into the program, build that core, build that DNA, get them into and watch them explode. And that's exactly why high school recruiting will continue to shine and continue to be an important, very, very important thing within the college football landscape. We're talking about three specific players. I'm going to give you at the end, I'm going to give you two players that are on campus that I think from the recruiting ranks actually may slot in well to this, I'll call it problem. It is a problem we've seen at the safety depth. But I'm first going to talk about two names. One that is a top target. It's going to be a hard get at a premium position. We're going to see if Georgia can pull it off against other top contenders and outside the base of what Georgia usually does, although it might be a base for us. Secondly, I'm going to talk about a player that is committed to the Dogs that another school is hard after trying to flip and what that means and how that goes. And then lastly, I'll be talking about these safeties and what it means coming on campus. But let's first talk about a visit coming on in for Mr. Spell, the number one running back in the entire nation for the 2027 cycle. 2027, he's as of now uncommitted. He's got a bunch of suitors, Penn State, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, Michigan, Notre Dame, all up there on the list. And Mr. Spell comes in at 5'9", 5'9.5", 205. He's on campus, 31st. Next weekend, this coming weekend, he will be in Georgia hanging out, giving us his understanding of where he sees the program. This is another top 10 in the nation recruit that, quite honestly, you can't have enough of these guys. I know that the running back room, as you've seen, we've had a lot of very, very good running backs. Transfer portal has taken out some of that. We've seen a premium on getting these guys back for NIL and what that means for us. He is a absolute beast. Don't look at that 5'9" and think anything other, because 205 and he wears it well. This guy comes through the hole with a vengeance and looking for contact. It's absolutely incredible what he's able to do. However, not just that, he does do track as well. And he is not going to be this 100-yard sprinter that's going to blow people away, but he's going to have bursts here or there that's going to go ahead and get him to a corner. Spell's the type of guy that once he hits the hole, he can turn his hips and turn his body, get up into a corner past a safety coming down. If he takes the wrong angle, he has enough speed to get out and around and up for an extra 10, 15 yards beyond that. He's not going to be a Phillips that we have in our backfield right now, but he is going to be somebody that you give the ball to. He doesn't mind getting his nose dirty. 10, 15, 20-yard chunks are well within his range. He's an absolute workhorse. And when he sees those small little one and go cuts, he's going to take it. Now, he is, in fact, from Pennsylvania. I said before, it's not our base, but it could well be coming a base for us, because if you remember, another dog that came down that I just described doesn't mind being in the tackles, has a 1 foot and go. DeAndre Swift came down from up there in the Northeast. He panned out pretty dang well for us. And while their talent is not the exact same, I think Spell has a bit more to him of in between the tackles, a bit more of let me get first down, second down, third down, stay in the game, be a threat out there. I think he does have Swift-like tendencies of that crease. We saw this with Swift all the time. Swift wasn't somebody that you give a toss to outside and he's going to race a corner, and then once he gets past the race up and going, he's going to make a guy miss, and in their recovery speed, that's where you make up for it. When they're recovering your full go, because your fluidity and athleticism allows you to get up to the second level, and that's where explosiveness really takes place. Bad angles turns into breaking down, poor form, and if you have a guy like Spell who has very complete control over his body, once he takes on a linebacker and sheds that, he could then transition very easily, very fluidly to up and around a safety. He'll be on campus, and it's a big get. It's a big time deal, because while Georgia does in fact have a very good recruiting class, I mean, again, this is 2026. We were top 5 in the nation. I think 2027 so far. Some of the leading candidates already. It's early on. Georgia has 5 commits as of right now in the 2027. Okay. We're going to talk about one in the next segment who might be out of that. We're going to try to figure out what's going on there. Noah Parker is another running back, 5'9", 195 from Georgia. Different skill set, 3-star kid. I think we bump him up coming in here a little bit more. We got a couple wide receivers, a tackle, and a cornerback. And so the highest rate we have so far is Dante Wright in that 2027. The class is shaping up pretty well. We have a tackle, Kelsey Adams, 6'5", 293 out of Georgia as well. Spell would be the cherry on top that you get well before anything else. He's going to take all his visits, I really do think. But being in Georgia right now is critical, because I think Spell is the type of guy that wants to be part of a system and part of a coaching staff that is no nonsense, very seriously. Look at the rest of who he's looking at. These aren't nonsensical takes. He's not looking at a Louisville because they had some success with some other guys. Florida State, you take a look down there because, again, they have a lot of NIL money. They don't have a lot of recent tradition and success, but they do have a lot of NIL money, and they are, for all intents and purposes, have a rich tradition of running backs. Penn State, no nonsense. You look at what Campbell's bringing over there. Miami, you saw what they were able to do this last year with the run. Their rush defense and their running game got them to the national championship. And then Michigan, of course. And if I'm Spell, I'm looking at Michigan. Notre Dame, if I'm looking at Michigan with like, oh, I could be a guy that slots in with who they've already drafted. A lot of those running backs went on the league. Very, very good success, as we saw this last playoff weekend from some of them. We're going to come back after this. I'm going to let you know about a name that many are trying to flip out of 2027. It's one of the top guys we have and where he might be going. But first, these. And these are, in fact, FanDuel. I told you FanDuel is fantastic. You need to get in on the action with them right now, because FanDuel is the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one final kickoff. The final chance to get on action before NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with special offers just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're back in the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building on some of the same game parlays, which is fantastic. They're so good. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. If you're new to a customer, just bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sports partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We're talking about a name that you need to know, and likely what's going to happen is I'll probably talk about this a little bit more. We're gonna combine this segment and next segment over on the Everydayers Club, because the Everydayers are going to get a little bit more insight of what we're hearing and what we're understanding of the secondary group, LockedOnBulldogs.supercast.com. Get over there right now, sign up for it, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that for the exclusive content portion of that. But not only do we have Spell visiting, we have Dante Wright, who's already a Bulldog. Dante Wright, 6'1", 170 out of Long Beach Poly. If you don't know Long Beach Poly, if you're new to the game of high school recruiting, if you think that, again, high school recruiting doesn't matter, then you wouldn't care about Long Beach Poly. You should, because these cats come out of Long Beach Poly. I'll say it. Okay, Georgia fans, I know. Georgia has the best recruits, the most talent. No one like us on the planet. I get it. But also, Long Beach Poly has dudes. They're coming in, and these aren't your normal cats that you can think of as a high school senior. Some of these guys, it's like a high school senior point and a half, or a half of a freshman already on campus. That's what these guys come in to college already ready to roll. They have talent out of bounds. They have tenacity and competition. This school, this program does not take in guys that just want to casually enjoy the game. These guys are the real deal. And if you don't, just go look down a list of Long Beach Poly alum. Okay. Dante Wright is the next succession of that. Somewhere in the top 30, depending on the recruiting service that you're using in the nation. And by the end of it, I think he has an Ogboku type ascension on the offensive line this year. I think he's going to take that next year. And I think he's going to get that 5+ star rating, because I already talked about his competitiveness. It's off the charts. I talked about these guys come in skill and want to play and want to fight. I think this guy might be the best prospect in the 2027 class. I think his ceiling is that high. I just talked about Spell and how big of a get that would be for Georgia at the running back room because of the stability that he would bring on offense. And he's a ready play Bo Walker-esque guy. If we didn't have incredible guys in front of him, I think he's that level as the floor for Spell. But I think if you look at Dante Wright, this guy's got everything. 6'1", 170, and enough frame on him. If you look at his game film and you look at his tape, he has enough frame and enough ability where he is not going to shy away from contact and from tackling. He's listed as a corner, but if you want to go ahead and put him at safety, I think you can. Watching his game and watching he does, the aggression just absolutely screams. I mean, screams off the film. They list him at 6'1". He looks more to be 6'2", tall and lanky, but that was earlier, because now he is not just tall and lanky. He is also athletic and fast and filling into form. Punt returner, kick returner as well. I mean, guys, go watch him as a sophomore, and you're going to be dumbfounded at what you're able to do. Speed flashes all over the field, chasing guys down from sideline to sideline. I said that he might be the number one recruit in this year's class because he has no problem being fluid in the hips. Stop me if you heard this before, because this is a Kirby special. Technique sometimes is lacking. He opens the gate far too much when he's playing press coverage. I think sometimes that gate needs to come down a good deal, be tighter as he's in his back pedal. But he's it. Safety, sure. Cornerback, sure. And if I know anything about Kirby, he's gonna want, we're gonna talk about the safety in the third segment. He's gonna want to keep him at corner, because this is Ellis Robinson again. This is Lassiter again. This is Ringo again. These are the cats that have side speed variables that you look at in a metric calculator. Efficiency goes off the charts. Can return kicks, can return punts, can play in the backfield, can play press coverage, gets coached up, and all of a sudden, the raw ability is going to look back and go, my gosh, why did we miss out on this guy? This is not somebody we can miss out on, which school is starting to realize maybe we should be catching up. He is a West Coast guy, and there's a lot of schools out on the West Coast with a lot of NILs coming in and a lot of, quite frankly, good tradition. Oregon, USC, Cal, who has a bunch of money in the NIL. And if you don't understand anything about Cal and what they were able to get with a true freshman left-handed quarterback that has done very good, I think Cal's going to be a better team, much better team next year. Oregon, I think is going to take a little step back, and they're seeing the downside of always having to go get a quarterback in the portal or trying to convince your average quarterback not to go to the draft because it's so weak. By the way, if Mendoza doesn't go number one, and if you need a quarterback, take a tackle, and you're not the Raiders, take a tackle and take a defensive lineman and call it good and come back next year. We're going to have more guys coming out of it. Dante Wright is looking at Oregon, USC, a couple other guys in. I don't think USC is that big of a player. I think those are just smoke and mirrors. I think Oregon is. Oregon wants to land him very heavily. Phil Knight has already said, you have a blank check, Dan Lanning, and Dan Lanning knows what the actual use of a tall, physical, fluid corner looks like. Dante Wright, so far, again, top 30 in the nation, depending on the recruiting service that you get, that 5-star. I don't care. I just don't care who you are. This guy will be the number one by when all is said and done. You can tell me recruiting service, Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, they don't listen to the stars that other people are giving them. Kirby Smart watches his own, recruits his own, gets word from other guys that they have in their organization, and they don't listen to a dang thing. And if my bang for my buck, looking at all of the recruits that are out there, I look at Dante Wright, and the excitement I get watching his film and hearing from this young man, he's the one I want more than anybody else. Because I know what it's like when you have a lockdown corner and nobody's able to throw on one side of the field, what it does for our defense. We're going to see that next year with Ellis Robinson, year 3, uploading. My goodness. Last half of the season, if Ellis Robinson does that all season long, we don't have to have a last-second back shoulder throw to the right end zone, right down from Gunnar Stockton to win it in Tennessee. We can actually go ahead and cover some. I'm over the moon about him. Oregon's coming hard. A couple other schools are coming hard. You might laugh at me. Cal. It's in California. It's in the Bay. They have a ton of NIL. They're trying to start something. Stanford is trying to start something back up. Andrew Luck has them pointing in the right direction. Cal is getting guys like this from those areas to come play. They're a real contender. Hey, I'm going to come back after this and let you know about 2 safeties in which possibly, if Dante does come to Georgia, keeps his commit and is on campus, maybe we switch him to safety, or maybe we don't have to, because the depth at safety is so massive that Kirby Smart has enough players over there. He says, just go ball out over on a wide receiver somewhere. But I'll tell you about those 2 safeties who we look to continue the success at Georgia right after these. And these are, in fact, Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward for those who show there's more than just the score. That's what's on screen. Look, if you want to know how people raise the bar, the extra work, the ins and the outs, dialing in every detail, giving the extra fire, and having that never quit grit, that's Santos Surreal in the UGA basketball floor. I know we had a disappointing loss this weekend on the road to Texas. Quad 1 win slipping through our hands. The first half looked impressive, but you heard it from everybody else. Santos Surreal is the MVP of the SEC, and he puts passion into everything, just like Mazda puts passion into every model, highlighting everything that make it real and feel good. what it looks to get there and make it count. There's more to a Mazda because guess what? There's more to you. Hey, we're coming back. And like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Cal and the recruiting landscape that is changing with the NIL, as well as Dante and the West Coast push to keep him. All the other offers are West Coast teams. Georgia comes along because he understands where greats play, and that is Georgia. He's committed. I think we keep him, but I'll be talking a little bit more about that and where he might slot in and the exclusive content, and giving you a little behind the scenes of how NIL is changing with tampering, running amok, and Jesus Clemson saving us all, which is crazy to me. If you want to hear more about Clemson Jesus, lockedonbulldogs.supercast.com. It's fantastic. Hey, let's talk about two names that I'm very excited for. They're already on campus, already part of what Georgia's doing. I'm not even listing a couple other defensive backs that get me a lot of excitement, Fitzpatrick and a couple other guys. But let's talk about two safeties. And these two safeties are Jordan Smith, Warner Robins, Georgia, and Fort. Look, I'm going to tell you what Kirby Smart has done in these two specific recruiting gets that are already on campus. We don't have to worry about them. Maybe transfer portal time. Maybe that's the case. But we talked ad nauseum. Daniel and I have talked ad nauseum so much about the lack of safety depth that we've seen. It's been bad. We've had to plug and play. We've had a lot of young guys. Janelle Guerrero was supposed to be that spark in the back end of the defense. We had a number of recruiting guys tell us he's the real deal of the entire class. He hasn't been. He's been good. He's been admirable. Hasn't been a game changer, however, which is why you saw him go over to Ole Miss, take a bag of money, and head on over there. Admirable and fine in a starter, and glad he was here and contributed to a playoff team, but was not a barn-burning, world-changing guy. We have a number of guys coming in. Transfer portal has been very kind. We get 3 guys that are going to be very, very good for us in the back half of the secondary. Safety is going to be emboldened with KJ Bolden. We're going to find out who we have. DeMello Jones. That's going to be very interesting to me where he plays. We saw him line up a couple times inside when we had some different looks on defense. Barnes, Riddle. I mean, there's lots of names back there. But if I know anything from the last, 10 years of Kirby Smart coaching, is that if a freshman jumps on, makes a splash in the secondary, you will play immediately. Malachi Starks, hello. KJ Bolden, hello. And it wasn't announced. It wasn't told. We heard rumblings until day one, until game one, and they come in and all of a sudden they are in fact doing very well. KJ Bolden has been very good in the secondary. Malachi Starks, very good. First round Baltimore Ravens. KJ Bolden's likely going to go ahead and have that same treatment for him. Zeke Ford and Jordan Smith come in, and here's how I think Kirby Smart has already stacked them up and lined them up coming into this year. I think the most likely to play is going to be Fort. I think he has a likelier chance of getting on the field just because of necessity. As a true freshman, I've had to do percentage shot of how and why that's going to be. It's going to be him. And I'll tell you why. 5'11", 195, and he wears it well, probably 205 by now. He's going to go ahead and get up into a bigger frame. He's going to have a Bullard type physique and a type mentality. Javon Bullard, if you don't remember that, just you dog fans, you guys remember. 5'11", 205 by now, maybe putting on closer to 210, but I don't think so. I think he wants to keep that speed, and he's going to slot perfectly into that star position. And I think if I look at star and what we have coming back and what we have question marks of, I think there's plenty of an opportunity for him to make a name for himself and get on the field quickly, especially knowing that we have 3 positions that have a lot of snap counts already. Janelle Guerrero goes out. Again, transfer portal has a lot in the air, but we saw Maddox, we saw Branch not be able to crack that, not be able to come in and overtake anybody. It's because the guys we had on the field were better. I think Fort has the opportunity to really show out and really grab a hold of that star position because of the physicality needed, the run down the hill, and who we have coming back opens up a lot of potential for him to do that. And I think Kirby Smart, with these two safeties in particular, and again, looking out until next year, who we have an even wide receiver and who we're targeting in safeties, there tends to be a very clear demarcation of the two safeties that get to interchange and play high and come down to the box and play that middle robber position, but float over the top with three and go to the field side, boundary side, or middle of the field, depending on what the call is and what the look is. Ford, however, comes slotting straight down, man coverage on a tight end, man coverage on an inside receiver, can play that middle zone, go from hook to flat, have the speed and able to do so. Come down and support in the run game. I think Ford is a great candidate to have a lot of snap count. Now, the more recognizable name, Jordan Smith, had a higher recruiting ranking coming out of high school. Number 12 safety in the entire nation. Ford was a little bit below him. He has a little more wiggle, a little bit more fluidity in a back pedal, a little bit more calmer presence, but he's 6'2", 185, probably, like I said, 195 by now, being on campus and getting there or getting out of the season gruel of what it looks like to be in high school and focus only on Georgia and focus only on what's coming next. I think he's seen a lot of improvement of that since being talking to the coaches and getting his preparation taken care of out of Warner Robins, Houston County High School. 6'2", 195. More of that. This is more KJ Bolden. KJ Bolden can come down and he can hit. There's no doubt about that. I'm not saying he can't do that. He's a physical guy. You have to be a physical guy to play defensive back and play corner in Kirby Smart's system. No one's ever saying that they're not physical. They have to tackle. Every last one of them. You don't want to tackle, you go elsewhere. You go to A&M, and then you go to Purdue, and then you go to East Carolina, and then you go to Citadel. I don't know. It just keeps going because you don't want to hit. You don't want to play. You don't want to do the things that Kirby Smart demands out of a good team, like Indiana demanded out of their good team. Imagine that. But I think Smith, he's the KJ Bolden replacement waiting. I think he's just the KJ Bolden safety right there, plug and play, learn, check it out. I don't think he's going to be able to beat out KJ. Again, it's all open competition, but that's the heir apparent. And I like it because Ford has the ability to come down. You learn star, you learn safety. It's all very interchangeable. We saw Malachi Starks play star, and we got out of position with that a lot when he was here. We saw KJ Bolden have to play solely back in the backfield, and we were very happy about that. I think if Ford's able to help contribute to that, a guy like Jordan Smith can just learn the ropes for a year and come in ready to go and not have a drop off that big from KJ Bolden to him. I do think he has that ability. I think he has that coaching pedigree. I think he has the fluidity to be more of a center fielder than anybody else. I'm very excited about our safeties and exactly how Kirby Smart looks at them in order to get them what he wants, what he needs, and what this defense is trajectory looking like. It's a perfect supplemental to everything else that we have in Georgia so far. This has been Locked On Bulldogs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'll be back tomorrow talking about the Dogs. We'll see you guys then.